I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
That Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for April 10th, 2025. Thank you for joining me today. Appreciate everyone who joined the roundtable and the replay. There was a fun one today. I got to say, the more we do it, I think the more fun we're all going to have, because we don't, when you're going into something with a bunch of people and you haven't done that before, it's sometimes, I'm just afraid to talk over everyone, so I just kind of stay quiet. But we're finding our spots. I think the roundtables are going to get better and better and better. And we are going to talk about something here in the beginning that we talked about during the roundtable. And that would be something Ben called Schilt Ball. And Schilt Ball, if you hear that correctly, Schilt Ball is something that I love that the Padres do. And I hope that it continues to be this way all season long, because what we're watching right now is very fun and exciting. And while it's working, it's even more fun and exciting. So we'll get into that in just a second. But later in the show, we're going to go over some random stories here in two of them in San Diego. And then one of them is from the Pittsburgh Pirates. They have had a week in regards to the public relations look that they've pretty much have told their fans they don't care about them in the last 2 weeks. So we'll get to that. We have a daily gripe. And then I am going to tell everybody, I really went back and forth on this one for a while, but I finally figured out why I've been so slow and groggy this week. And I didn't know if I wanted to say it, but I will say it, and we'll do it at the end in the 6:35 area, 6:40 area. But I'm going to say it because I think it's important. And I have realized real quick why I was such a dum-dum this entire week. So stick around for that. And then we're also going to talk about Xander Bogaerts and his hitting streak. 5 games. He's 9 for 21 in those 5 games. He's up to 304 on the season. So we'll get to him as well. But I want to thank Spiros before we go any further, because Spiros brought in a whole spread of food during the show today for Chris, Tony, and myself. And I had a good old time eating Spiros when the roundtable was airing, because I needed to refuel. Thankfully, the last time this happened, someone stole my pizza. And I still haven't found the pizza thief. But thankfully, no one stole my Spiros, and so I was able to enjoy some nice Spiros. They have really, really good pita bread. Like, incredible pita bread. And pita bread is dangerous, because I don't think you really have loaves of pita bread, but I could eat a lot of pita bread because it's so good. It's so good. Match it with the hummus or the tzatziki sauce. Oh, I'm getting hungry talking about it again, honestly. I'm going to bring some home. I'm going to have some over the weekend. So I just got to say thank you, Spiros, for feeding me for the next few days. And make sure you go and check them out, because we broadcasted from a couple of their places before, and their food is delicious. Their locations are great. The one we broadcasted from was Coronado, and we were able to see downtown from where we were broadcasting. They have a patio. It's kind of near the water. So go check out Spiros if you want some Greek food, if you want some good Mediterranean food. Just make sure you go and check that out. Also, I have to thank Roundtable for feeding us this morning. I did not go crazy on the Roundtable today, knowing that I had a little bit of eating ahead. So I did not go as crazy on Roundtable today. Still did have some slices. Still love me some Roundtable. It really is like one of my favorite pizza places because it's delicious. It is. All right. With all that out of the way, let's get into Schilt Ball. And when we're talking about Schilt Ball, we're talking about the way the Padres are doing things, the way they're scoring runs, the way they're setting themselves up to score runs. And during the roundtable, I had a little bit of a scenario that I wanted to present to everyone because I wanted to see what they kind of what they think about this certain scenario. And first, I wasn't able to work it in, so we're going to do it here. But second, like, I at the time was not as opposed to this scenario as others were. And I'm going to bring up, I don't know which game it was last year. I tried to find it and I could not find it. But Fernando led off the game, hit one in the gap, and he decided to go for it. He decided to go from home plate to second base. He tried to sneak one out in there. He tried to sneak a base going from first to second, maybe get the left fielder, I believe it was, catch him sleeping a little bit. And so he was thrown out at second base to start the game. And I remember I actually liked it because I kind of trust Fernando. And if Fernando thinks he's going to get there, then I understand that if he doesn't, then, the next time he may. But this scenario with Fernando hitting it was a single into the gap, but then he tried to stretch it. And I was told that was too aggressive. And of course, that is too aggressive in certain points in time. But if you're leading off the game and Fernando feels like he could steal second base, get runner in scoring position after the first at bat of the game, I say trust him. Why not? So is that the type of aggressive base running that we want? Obviously, we don't want guys getting thrown out at second all the time. But I think that if Fernando sees an opening and he wants to go get that base, I say go, do it. Because you obviously know if you can get there more than we can or more than we know. So I would have thought that if I were to present this to the group, that they would have said, no, that's not good base running, which I do understand. But how aggressive is too aggressive? And what I think the Padres are doing right now, they're being just aggressive enough to put pressure on the other team and to get the runs that they didn't get in the last couple years. Last year they got it, but maybe 2022, 2021, they weren't getting that one sac fly that would put them on top, and then their pitching could do the rest. And now that's what they're doing. It's not small ball to me. It could be looked at as small ball, but when you're able to tag up and go from second to third like Xander Bogaerts did yesterday and then come home on a sacrifice fly by Gavin Sheets, that is a big that's a big tell to me what they're being taught outside of what they're being taught throughout the season and throughout the second half of last season. Couldn't find my words there. Throughout the second half of last season, they bought in to the Schilt ball thing, and they saw it work. I think that's the biggest deal here, is that last year they bought into that. They saw it work. They saw it produce results. They saw how good they could be when they're playing that Schilt ball, and they took it into the offseason. They internalized it, and they came back, and they came back ready to do the same exact thing they did in the second half of last year. I am someone who I don't put as much blame on players as others, but if we're going to talk about aggressive base running, I want to know what the limit is. So let me know on the chat if you what would be over the limit for aggressive base running. Because Ha-Seong Kim last year, and I hate to bring it back to last year, but we still only got 13 games, so that's all I have to draw upon. But he would run into bad outs. And I was going to say all the time, but it wasn't all the time. He did run into bad outs, though. He would end innings. And so those are the base running errors that we don't want to see. But the ones that they're taking advantage of are the ones that I think are the building blocks for how they're going to play the rest of this season. And according to Kevin Acey's newsletter, Manny Machado's fly ball yesterday was the Padres' 17th productive out of the season, which is tied for fourth most in the majors. 17 productive outs, meaning you move the runner over or you had a sac fly, something like that. Something happened on the bases and you caused it to happen. That's what a productive out is. And productive outs are incredibly important. We just talked about it. Xander Bogaerts going from second to third during I think it wasn't Gavin Sheets' at bat. He went second to third, I don't believe. Anyway, I'm gonna confuse myself, but those are the moments I'm thinking about with Schilt ball. And Manny, yesterday, to his credit, 2 for 3, 2 walks. He's not trying to do too much. And we talked about it the other day. Tony was saying, or Chris was saying, that's exactly what Tony. That's exactly what Manny needs to do. And it's exactly what he's going to see, because pitchers aren't going to give him a pitch to hit when Fernando and when Jackson Merrill and when Jake Cronenworth are out of the lineup. There's just no real big threat in the lineup outside of Manny Machado. Xander Bogaerts, he's playing well. He's hitting well right now. Because I know there's people out there that look at his defensive metrics, and I got a DM earlier with someone who sent me his defensive metrics, and I was like, okay, I don't understand. What do you want this guy to do? Hit 90 home runs and drive in 200 RBIs? I don't understand what they want from him. I'm happy with the play that Xander Bogaerts has put forth this year, and I think he's getting better as it goes along. But when you have Manny and Xander, obviously Manny's the guy that you're scared of more than Xander. Xander hasn't left the yard this year. He almost did in Chicago a couple times, but he hasn't left the yard this year. So he's been making his living on hard hit line drives, and this year at least. And I really love what I'm seeing from him. Defensively, yeah, he's had some plays that he didn't make, but I'm fine with what he's doing defensively. I'm fine with it. Cactus Man says, we are playing aggressive but smart. Let's see. Rod says, abolish the Buster Posey rule is how I feel about base running. Okay, so the Buster Posey rule is what they put in when they didn't want anyone to just take out the catcher anymore. You can't just run straight into the catcher, because Buster Posey had his leg caught underneath him, and it pretty much broke in half. It was pretty bad. It was actually on my birthday one year, and I was in San Francisco for my job at the time, and I remember watching this play and just being disgusted by it because it looked so bad. And so they put in the Buster Posey rule where you can't just light up a catcher anymore. And I don't really know. I don't really know that I need people to run into catchers. I don't really know that I need players to just absolutely demolish a catcher. The catcher in that position is not in a place where they can defend themselves, and not in a place where they're ready to take a hit. Sometimes they are, but when you got a runner coming full speed at you and you are like standing there, or at least crouching there, you don't have any sort of movement behind you. So when you get blown up, all that energy is going right through you. So I don't necessarily need anyone to be blowing up catchers these days, because that is something that I hear a lot, actually. I hear a lot from people that they want that rule back, and they want to make sure that you could run into catchers. How many players do you think would actually want to run into catchers these days? Because some of these catchers, big dudes. You want to run into Salvador Perez? I sure don't want to run into Salvador Perez. Let's see. M. McKee says, still scarred from that game in San Francisco a few years ago. Jesse and Tony had to pull out the rule book, and they were still baffled. Yes, I remember this. They called catcher's interference when it didn't seem to be catcher's interference, and I can't remember if this specific occurrence happened before or after another catcher's interference thing that so whichever one was second completely didn't match what they told us the first time. So we had no idea what a defense or a catcher's interference catcher's interference call was. And I do remember that, M. McKee. I do. DJ Royal says, yes, let's protect the player who's wearing shin guards, a chest protector, possibly a helmet with a cage. Now, I don't know that catchers sit there with their helmet on. I think they take their helmets off. But I get it. I know I'm probably coming off a little soft right now. And I'm probably coming off like some of those umpires that are mad at Luis Ariz, but I really don't need it. And I don't really think that it has ruined the game, to be honest. I don't. And I know I'm going to be not alone on that, but I know I'm going to be kind of out there on that whole thing. And bottom line, this segment, all about Shelp Ball. And I don't know how I got to catcher's interference and all that, but all about Schilt ball, all about the aggressiveness on the bases. Love everything that I've been seeing from them so far this year. Things have worked for them this year. They're 10-3 on the season. Great start. Exactly the start I think all of us had always dreamed of for this team, but it just never happened. And now that it's happening, it feels good. And it's fun to watch. And let's just hope when the Rockies come to town tomorrow that the Padres have put that whole Rockies thing behind them, because I do not want to see the Rockies win a game this weekend. But in all reality, just win the series. That'll be fine. Just win the series and you'll be all good. By the way, we have Alec Jacob on our show tomorrow for Friar Friday. So don't have a time yet, but we will be talking to Alec Jacob tomorrow. I don't know that we talked to him in spring training, but this will be our second time talking to Alec Jacob. He actually had a really, really interesting take on being a guy who, wasn't highly touted. He had a really interesting take on that last time we talked to him. So excited to talk to him again tomorrow. Let's go to break. When we get back, I want to tell you about the one guy who just arrived on the team that I think is going to be a huge difference maker going forward. So all that's next on the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan.
Flowers aren't the only thing blooming, so are the deals at Hyundai of El Cajon. Lease a 2025 Elantra SEL for just $249 per month with no security deposit, and you'll drive happy with America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty with Hyundai Assurance. Have a trade no matter how it runs or doesn't. Your trade is worth up to 120% of KBB value. The Getaway Sales Event only at Hyundai of El Cajon.
New 2025 Hyundai Elantra SEL lease. $249 per month plus tax. $3,995 due at signing. 36 months. See dealer for details.
Divorce puts your life's work on the line. Cordell & Cordell is ready to help you protect it. As a business owner, you've dedicated years building a legacy now at risk due to divorce. Let our experienced family law attorneys fight for you and that legacy. Cordell & Cordell is one of the nation's largest family law firms. Call to schedule your consultation today.
1455 Frazee Road, Suite 750, San Diego, California, 92108. Online at CordellCordell.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them. They have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go. And that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates.
Back here on the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan. Thank you for joining me. You can watch on YouTube if you would like. Just search 97.3 The Fan on YouTube. Or you could go to the secret Skrabinator area, which is at the Skraby Show on YouTube. If you want to go there and hang out with all the Skrabinators, you can do that. We were talking about Schilt Ball a little bit earlier. We're going to be talking about why I've been so dumb this week. We're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates making their fans feel like they love them even more and more, which is me being facetious. And then Kathy, listener Kathy, gave me a daily gripe that I 100% agree with because it was a good one. And if you have these, if you have some sort of gripe that you want to get off your chest and you want to make the world know about it, then you can send them to me on social media at Matt Skraby, MattsKraby, as in boy, Y. Really trying to keep up more with the social media. So if you have any gripes, send them over there. The Skraby Show is hosting the third Skrabinator game. So basically what you need to do for this and what you need to know about it is we are going to be giving away 20 tickets to listeners, and we're going to go to a game. It's Monday, May 12th against the Angels. You have to sign up. Go to 973thefansd.com. Go to the top of the page, click contests, and then you'll see the Skrabinator game link. You have to sign up in order to win. And if you can't go on May 12th, please do not sign up. I want to make sure that we use all of the tickets. In the past, someone has had something come up the day of and they can't go, so we don't get to use the ticket. I would really like to use all of the tickets. So again, 973thefansd.com and go to the contest page at the top, then click on the Skrabinator game and you'll find the page right there to sign up. What we're going to do is randomly draw people, and we're going to close the entries on May 9th, I believe. It's the week before May 12th, so I can have a little bit of time to find some more people. And you'll watch the game with me in the Odyssey Suite. That's the biggest part of the whole thing that I completely forgot to mention, is that this is in the Odyssey Suite. So it's not being used. It's a 6:40 p.m. game. If you want to hang out with Skrabinators, if you want to come down and watch some baseball with me and everybody else, make sure you sign up. 973thefansd.com. Go to the contest page and then look for the Skrabinator game link. Appreciate all of you who've already signed up. It's actually one of those things. It's kind of tough because I want to promise everyone the tickets, and I faced this one last year in the first one. I had made so many promises to people about tickets, and I realized real quick that I was running out of tickets, and so I was writing a check that I couldn't cash because I didn't have those tickets. So I've learned a little bit, but I wish everybody could go. It was really fun last year. Just go to my Instagram if you want to see a picture of us last year, at Matt Skraby. Now, with that out of the way, we're going to talk about the one guy who I think is going to make a big difference this year, and I think that he is here to stay on this team, and that would be Oscar Gonzalez. I have loved what I've seen from him so far. I have loved what I've seen from him in AAA. His spring training was great. He didn't really, he kind of jumped out off the page at you in the first couple spring training games because he was hitting and he was having multiple hit games. And so as spring training went along, I think he kind of got washed out a little bit because he was maybe the first real, he was really one of the first guys to show up at spring training and do a great job and put pressure on other players to get on the regular season roster, the 40-man roster. Oscar Gonzalez yesterday went 2 for 4, and he scored Bogarts on a single, but here's where I think that he is really seeing the ball well, is you have to pay attention to the exit velocities. And you have to pay attention with how hard they're hitting the ball, because if they're hitting the ball hard, that means that they're seeing it well and they're making good contact. But his second single was a line drive to left field yesterday at 110.9 miles an hour. So he's got power. And we know that he can hit some home runs. I think Oscar Gonzalez is a guy that we may see more and more and more in left field. And I'm not going to blame him for letting a ball get behind him the night that he showed up. I mean, he literally got off the plane about 30 minutes before the game started and then got over there and went into the game. But I think Oscar Gonzalez, he looks like he has good at bats. He looks like he's confident. He looks like he knows which pitches he wants to swing at. And so I think Oscar Gonzalez is someone that's possibly, in my opinion, going to help more throughout the year. Like, I'm not sure why he didn't start with the major league roster, but they put him down AAA and he was hitting well. And so he worked his way back up. But like we talked about on the roundtable, this just creates more competition, and competition, healthy competition, is really good for a team. It's really good for a workplace because you are making sure that you're getting everything from the guys that are at the top. And if you are at the major league level, I should say. So if you're a player in the minor leagues, obviously the goal is to get to the major leagues. And you're in the Padres system. Who doesn't want to be on the Padres at the major league level? Who doesn't want a roster spot on this team right now? Every guy in that system, if they were offered a roster spot, would jump all over themselves to get there because this is a team that you want to be with. But the competition that this is creating, now Oscar Gonzalez kind of has the first go at being a replacement, being a not a substitution. What is the word I'm looking for? Being a, oh man, I'm going to tell you why I'm so dumb in just a sec on the other side, but I can't remember the word right now that I wanted to use. But he was the first one who came up. And if I'm those guys like Connor Joe, Tirso Ornelas, if I'm sitting there in AAA, I'm seeing him go 2 for 4, I know I got to work harder because he's not going to go anywhere if he's going to continue to get on base, play good defense. He's already there. So it's his spot to lose. And I know when I first got into radio, I had a couple people that, you know, could have taken over a job or things like that. And I know that it really made me work a lot harder. I stayed longer. I thought about work more. I put more things together. And that's exactly what we'll see from this team. We're going to see them competing to get on the major league team. And it's kind of crazy to me that when Connor Joe was signed, we already put him right on the roster. And that's not how it worked out. Brandon Lockridge got that spot. You got so many guys that can come up and make a difference. And it makes me feel very comfortable about the Padres situation when you have guys like Connor Joe who have major league experience in AAA that can come up and provide a major league at bat. That's what he's going to give you. And Mike Schilt knows what he's doing in this regard. Mike Schilt, AJ Preller, they know what they're doing here. They know that if they push these guys, they're going to get the best out of all of them. And all of the players that are trying to get to the major league roster are just going to have to work harder. And so that's the healthy competition that I think some teams just don't have because they don't really have an outlook, a good outlook, a great outlook like the Padres do. And if you're a White Sox player, obviously you do want to get to the major leagues and you will do it on the White Sox. But I don't know that some of those guys are being pushed as hard as other guys are, like in the Padres system, because there is one spot and many people trying to take that spot. And so they just have to continue working, continue proving that they are worth it. And hopefully at some point they're going to get the call up to the majors. And they're going to put out whatever they need to stay on the team. I love it. I love the competition. I do. I think it's amazing. I think it's great. And as long as there's no major injuries, this thing is going to roll in the right direction. And at 10-3, I think I can say that. I think I could say that it's rolling in the right direction. All right. You're listening to the Skraby Show here on 97.3 The Fan. We had the round table today, Bennett Woods, Braden Soprenant, Gwynn and Chris. We also have tomorrow, we have Friar Friday with Alec Jacob. The Rockies are coming to town to play the Padres. That game starts at 6:40. Sam Levitt will be back doing his regular thing, and we'll hopefully see the the Padres take care of business this weekend against the Rockies. No Charlie Blackmon, so that's good. He's a guy who really crushes the Padres, so maybe the curse of his beard is gone. Also, no Yan Gomes. I know he's not a Rocky, but Yan Gomes always kills the Padres too. So I'm feeling a little bit better about this weekend. We'll have to see, but I have a feeling this Padre team's going to take care of business. So we'll talk more about this weekend. We'll also talk about some of those new things in San Diego and then what the Pirates did to a fan. I will tell you about that and then the Daily Gripe at the end of the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan. Final segment of the Skraby Show for today, April 10th, if you're wondering. Did my taxes. I think tax day is on Tuesday. I gotta say, when I was a drinker, I wasn't the best and most responsible human being who ended up usually waiting to do his taxes until like 2 days before. My taxes were very simple back in the day. I just had one job and all that. But now it's a little bit more complicated with the side job stuff. I am doing side jobs. I'm doing editing and video editing and audio editing. If anybody needs any help with that, hit me up at Matt Skraby. I don't know if people know this, but a lot of us here on the station do have other jobs. And so I actually lost my side job recently. It was very sad. Everybody was sad to go. It wasn't because they hated me. It was because some stuff changed. And so they just weren't able to do it anymore. But I really enjoyed doing the side job. It gives me like another avenue to help people. I like getting out of the sports subject every once in a while and think about other sorts of topics that we could talk about. Like I remember with this podcast I was helping them with, we were talking about Kate Middleton and whether or not she was, the whole conspiracy with Kate Middleton. And that stuff is fun to me. I do really like to do that stuff. But yeah, if you want to hit me up, you can at Matt Skraby. Please do, because I am ready to work. All right, we're going to get to some news stories here from San Diego in just a second, but I'm going to tell everybody why I've been so stupid this week. And I'm calling myself that. I'm not calling anyone else that. Why I have been so not smart this week. And it's a good lesson for everybody. And I'll do it at the expense of myself, because I know that there are people listening that will identify with this. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring it up, but my performance this week at work has not been great. And I was just like foggy and groggy and just wasn't feeling myself or wasn't feeling like myself, and had a headache for like the last week or so. And so I went home on, what day was that? Tuesday. I went home on Tuesday and I was like, why in the world is this happening? Like I didn't get enough sleep the night before, but that shouldn't be a problem because I got enough sleep the other nights. Why in the world is this happening to me? Why do I feel like this? And so I was about to, call the doctor and figure it out, but I started looking through my medications, and I take medication for mental health, for depression, and for moods and things like that. And really not afraid to say it, because I was born with a brain that didn't produce the right chemicals. And so it's not a big deal. If anyone's out there thinking, hey, I don't want to take medications because I don't want to, because I don't think I need them. Sometimes you're born with the chemicals that your brain produces, and you might not have enough of them. So that's the case for me. I don't have enough of them. And I'm not saying everybody should be taking medication. I'm just saying if you feel like you want to, you should. But here's where I went wrong. One of my medications changed, and I didn't realize it. So when I went to go take it for the last week, I usually take one pill a day for this medication. And I realized I got a really big bottle of this stuff. And this has happened before, where they send me a really big bottle in the mail so that, I don't have to do it for 3 months or something like that. But it was a lot. It was a lot. And I realized, because I started looking at my medication bottles, I realized that I was supposed to be taking 2 of this medication every single day, because they changed the dosage on the pill, and I did not look at it. So for a week or so, I was not taking my medication correctly, and I just kept feeling like I was fading into the dark. I call it the darkness. I was just fading into the dark, and I couldn't figure it out, and I couldn't figure out why I was so angry about everything, and I couldn't figure out why I was not very smart and why I was doing certain things. But I think you could hear it in my voice today. I've been back on it for 2 days. Things back to normal, back to the places they were before. So here's a PSA, I guess. If you're feeling weird and you can't figure it out why, just check your medications if you're taking them. See if you're taking the wrong amount of medication, because I was, and that's dangerous. I'm really, really, really good with my medications. I don't ever, if I miss a day, it's like once every 3 months, because I know how important it is for me to take them. I know how important it is for me to take them, because they're without them, I was feeling I had a lot of this feeling, which is the fear of impending doom, where everything you think of, you think something bad is going to happen. So I had that a lot back in the day. And then the medications, over time, we figured it out, and my fear of impending doom has gone away a little bit, but that's what I was feeling creep back into the back of my head. So now I have to remember that feeling. If I feel like I'm falling into the dark again, then if I feel that way, that means I need to check my medication. So long story short, just make sure you're doing the right thing. And that's why I've been acting a little weird this week, because I was not up to date on the medication at all. All right. Cactus Man says, glad you're feeling better, Skraby. Mental health is important. Good vibes sent your way. I do think that mental health is extremely important. It's the only reason getting my mental health in order is the only reason I'm sitting here now. Because if I didn't get my mental health in order, I don't know that I would be here in general. All right. And if you don't know, I am a recovering alcoholic. I've gone over 8 years without a drink. So that's why I'm talking about all this stuff, because I like to be transparent. Here are some San Diego stories that aren't sports stories, but I like to bring these to the show every once in a while because they're fun. This one actually is not fun. This one is another sort of PSA about what's out there right now and what scammers are able to do. Alexandria Moya needed a place to live here in San Diego, and she was worried that her budget was going to be an issue, which is something that I face all the time, budget being an issue, because it's extremely expensive to live in this city. And I only have one job now. I needed two. Now I only have one, so I got to find that second. But she was thinking that she wasn't going to be able to find an apartment in a good area because according to Zumper, a website apparently on this news story, the average one-bedroom apartment in Ocean Beach costs about $2,500 on average, which is insane. So she didn't really think anything like, okay, I can move to Ocean Beach I can't move to Ocean Beach is what I meant to say, because it's just too expensive. So I'm gonna have to look inland. But she kept looking at the listings, and then she came across this offering in Ocean Beach for $1,300. And I've actually seen these too when I'm looking for places. I've seen these little offers where it's much cheaper than everyone else, and I immediately see it for what it is, and then I move on. But I used to click on these, and I used to reach out about these before I learned what the scam was. But since she saw this listing price at $1,300, she was through the roof excited about this, because she was going to save a bunch of money, get a great deal on rent, and even further. And I think this is the first red flag in this whole process. But even further, the woman who listed the home to rent agreed to even rent it to her for less than $1,300, less than $1,000. I forgot the number. Yes. So she was thinking, okay, I saw it for $1,300 on the website. That is well within my budget. Called her up and then talked it down to $1,000, which is the first red flag. And I think everybody knows where I'm going with this, but unfortunately she got scammed, and she got scammed for a total of $2,500. And the reason that she gave up $2,500 is because she went and met the niece of the person who was renting the apartment, quote unquote niece. And that person was very pushy, trying to get her to commit. She said that she wanted to take a day to think about it, make sure that she wanted to move there, but the person renting the place was not in any sort of waiting mood. And so they pressured her to commit. And then they also said, hey, we need immediate cash payment today if you are going to commit, so we can hold this apartment for you. So Moya paid the owner $2,500 in total, $1,500 in cash and $1,000 through Zelle, which is like a money transfer app. And from there, I think we all know where this is going. That person just kind of disappeared and stopped answering phone calls, stopped responding to texts, and ended up they can't figure out who this was because apparently they didn't even own the place. But she filed a police report, and the police just can't really do anything unless they find these people. And even then, they're not going to look for these people because they just don't have the resources for it. But I hate scammers. I think scammers are some of the worst people in the world, and they take advantage of people that are down on their luck or maybe just don't understand what's happening. I think I've told this story before, but years and years, I think this was like 2006 or 7 when like cell phones were just starting to become a thing. Yes, I'm that old. And I had a friend, or my cousin's girlfriend got a phone call from a credit card company that she had the credit card, and they were telling her that she won a cruise because she entered when she, applied for the credit card. And so the cruise was hers, and she just needed to put down a deposit on the cruise so that they could hold it for her. So she put down the deposit on the cruise, and she put down, I believe, $2,000 on the deposit. And again, this was way before we knew what scamming was all about, but she put down the $2,000 and never got it back because she could never find the person who did this to her. So, and I remember how distraught she was and how angry she was because she didn't have $2,000 to give away. She thought she won a cruise trip, which I understand, maybe do some due diligence. But again, this was like back in the first days of cell phones. So we weren't really getting these text messages that we get now. Like I just got one the other day that just says, "Hi." And I know what they're doing. We've talked about it on the air before. They're trying to get you a response so that they can hook you in. But just be careful, people. Be careful. Make sure that you aren't doing anything that is going to get you scammed. And if you have questions, if you think something's not right, then it's probably not right. Trust your gut is what I tell people, because your gut is probably telling you the truth. And sometimes it's hard to trust your gut, but don't give anybody cash. Make sure you can track that money. And if they're pressuring you, that's also a bad sign. Here is the other story that I wanted to bring, because apparently, and I'm seeing these videos online, this is from NBC7 San Diego, but apparently in Vista, there is a house that's being rented on Airbnb and VR Verbo, and it's been rented since the beginning of last year. But apparently this house is just called, to all the people that rent it, quote, the fun house. And there's videos of these people having at least 100 people at this party. And so the neighbors are really upset that they have to deal with this on a regular basis. And the city, is trying to figure it out, but the city actually ended up saying, okay, we're going to sue you because we need to figure this out. We can't just have parties like this all the time. The lawsuit seeking $17,875 in administrative fines, collection of all unpaid tax money, and $1,500 for every day it violated the city's licensing ordinance, which I do love. $1,500 every single day. Now, the home is being rented out by some guy named Daniel Sarasi. So if you come across a Daniel Sarasi, then you should go the other way. But yeah, this is something that I cannot stand. And it's the people who rent out their house and then let people party in it, because that is ridiculous. I used to live, what exit was it? It was Balboa and something. It was in El Cajon. But I used to live out there, and there were some neighbors that partied all the time, and I had just stopped drinking. So it was not as easy for me to deal with that, but it's just loud. Like, who wants to listen to loud music all the time? That would really, really, really infuriate me. And when I used to work on news talk back before sports, this was when I first got into radio. When I used to work in news talk, we would have these conversations about short-term rentals, and so many people would call in from each side and just battle each other on the air. It's a very hot topic that I honestly don't even want to get into because I know how crazy this topic gets. Katrina says Airbnb and VRBO are also adding to the housing shortage. Don't know if that's true, but makes sense to me. All right. I've said it all, and now it's time for this.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
Woohoo! I got it in before the outro music started. Here's the Daily Gripe from listener Kathy. Kathy said that she would like to gripe about elevators. And I'm going to make sure that, let's see, I have a gripe for you, Skraby. People who don't wait for you to get off the elevator before they try to get on. I'm trying to get out! Let me the hell off! Agree with you on that, Kathy. Agree with you on that. There's a certain order to life, people. You can't just do whatever you want. But that's a good one. Elevator, waiting for people to let you off and all that is a very good one. Thanks to everybody who listened today to the Skraby Show, to the Roundtable, to Bennett Woods, Braden Soprano Show, Gwynn and Chris. We're back tomorrow. Alec Jacob on with Gwynn and Chris. Bennett Woods start at 6 a.m. on 97.3 The Fan. Good night, everybody.